This took me 10 years to learn. I'm gonna teach it to you in under 30 minutes. Identifying every gull in your county, way easier than you think. When you break it down with my simple method, you'll quickly identify all the common gulls, and then you'll be ready when a rare one shows up. But if you skip this, you'll freeze when your buddy asks, "Hey, what gull is that?" Hi, I'm Rick, North America's favorite bird watcher. Gulls used to confuse me. I'd go out birding and my other birder friends would have 6 gull species on their checklist and I'd barely have one. So I created a foolproof system to easily identify all the gulls with memory tricks, like that's a Franklin's gull, because Ben Franklin wears bifocals. So let's jump into this gull tutorial so you can bird with confidence and never get stumped again. Hey, welcome. Gull ID. All right, this is one of my favorite topics. Unlocking the impossibly identical. And I can't be a true birder without telling you, you already know this, but there's no such thing as a seagull. No bird is called seagull. It's a generic term for gulls. Between you and I, it's okay. I call them seagulls too when I'm around my family. And they go, "Ooh, did you hear what you just said?" I know. But they're called seagulls because they're really hard to tell apart. And that's okay. You don't have to identify every gull, but I like trying. In North America, there's 50 different types of gulls that either live here or have visited one time or another. And to the non-birder, they all kind of look alike. They kind of fly the same. They look the same. They eat fish or they eat McDonald's French fries. And it takes attention and time to tell them all apart. But once you do, it's so satisfying. What makes it difficult is that gulls look different the first 4 years of their life, from when they're born to when they're adults. And they call them, with gulls, cycles. Year 1 is their first cycle, year 2 is their second cycle, year 3 is their third, and so on, until the end of the 4th, they're now adults. And when you look in your bird book, you'll see that usually they show the adults, because gulls live a long time. I think the oldest banded gull that they've refound was 29 years old in Cleveland. They found it a couple years ago. And it's still alive. So gulls can live a long time. So for beginners, it's easy just to learn the adulthood. And when you come across a flock of gulls, there's always adults mixed in. So if you focus on those adults and maybe leave the first, second, third cycles for a little later in your birding career to identify those, that's okay. And it's also okay to leave a bird unidentified. What also makes gulls complicated is they hybridize. So 2 gull species will come together and they'll make a baby that's kind of in between both of them. So if you run across that, oh my goodness, trying to decide which was the mom and the dad can be difficult. But it can go down a rabbit hole that many birders have gone down, and it becomes a passion or a life project. So the first thing I'm going to ask you to do is pause this video, go to eBird, go to your county, and see what gulls are in your county. All right, I did this for my Prince Edward, Ontario, and there's been 9 gulls ever that have been into my county. Not 50, but 9. All right, I can learn 9. And really, it comes down to 4 gulls that are here really year-round. And it's probably the same in your county, too. Ring-billed gull, herring gull, Bonaparte's gull, and great black-backed. Those are the 4 common ones that I'm going to run into if I bird my county year-round. And what those three R's, they represent the small gull, the medium, and the large. So this picture, I found this online. It's actually got a photo of those four birds. It's not my county, not my photo, but you can see the size difference. The smallest one here in the corner is a Bonaparte's, the most common small gull. Then there's a ring-billed. This is it's not an adult, it's a juvenile. And then a herring gull, and then a great black-backed. This is also a juvenile great black-backed. But you can tell the size difference. Oh my goodness, from smallest to largest. It's a big difference. So pay attention to size. We're also going to pay attention to the bill, the legs, the different color legs, and also its head shape. All right, so those are the tips, and we're going to now get into kind of each of these sections. We're going to start with small gulls, which is smaller than a ringbill. So a ringbill's about 17 inches. So all of these are smaller than that. And then I've highlighted the Bonaparte's gull because that's kind of going to be the baseline because it's the most widespread throughout North America. All right, so Bonaparte's, here we go. Now, when you look in your book, you'll see they usually show the breeding plumage. This means like a breeding plumage is when the birds are at their peak color. They're the brightest, they're about to mate, they want to be attractive to their partner. So like a Bonaparte's gull gets a black head during breeding season. But guess where they breed? Like way up in the Arctic, way up north. We never see a Bonaparte's, at least in my area, with the black head. Because that's reserved for that time when it's not in our area. We get Bonaparte's during migration, during the shoulder seasons. And so then it goes up north and then it comes back down. So this picture up here in the top is kind of what a Bonaparte's looks like when we see them in North America here. They don't have the black head, but they got that kind of the smudgy black mark behind their eye. It's a small gull. They've got red, pink legs, and they're small. So I call them, well, Bonaparte. How do I remember that? Well, think of the Bonaparte or the Napoleon complex. This bird wasn't named after Napoleon Bonaparte, but another Bonaparte who was a friend of the ornithologist way back when. But I'm not sure if that's the true story or not, but it's not the Napoleon we know. So, but there's the complex, right? A small gull, it's typically a Bonaparte, small Napoleon complex. That's how I remember the Bonaparte gull. And birders, they call them bonies or bonnies. There's a lot of nicknames, so think about that. All right. Now, when I'm looking through a flock of Bonapartes, because we can have upwards of 5,000 of them at a time where I live during migration. They just come in large flocks. But there's always, not always, but sometimes a special one mixed into that flock, which is the next bird, a little gull. Now, this is the smallest gull of North America. And they like to mix in with the flocks of Bonapartes. Now, this picture here on the left, it looks very similar, right? That same black smudgy mark on its face. But what you'll notice is the bill is thinner, same red or pink legs. Now, way up north when they're breeding, they do get a black head, but we rarely see that. But what we do see is these under wings that are black. So a really small gull, little gull, right, with black under wings. Now, if they're sitting like this or standing, you won't see that. But if you stare at a flock of gulls long enough, they move around. They'll even stretch their wings up. So if you're patient and you kind of have your binoculars on that flock of small gulls, look for the flash of the black underwings. And you're like, boop, I got my little gull. It's kind of fun to see that. All right, this next gull, just a little bit bigger, is the Sabine's gull. Now, I always thought it was Sabine's gull when I was first learning, but no, it's Sab, S-A-B, Sabine's gull. Now, its distinct feature is this yellow tip on its black bill. All right, the bony and the little gull don't have that. But the other feature is this distinct black outer wing and the white inner wings. Yeah, we don't get these very often on the East Coast. They're mostly a West Coast ocean bird, rarely seen inland. You'll see this if you're on a pelagic or if you're on the coast and there's a storm and some of the birds come close to shore. But yeah, look for that black mark on the outer of the wing, and that if it gets close and lands, that yellow tip to its black bill. The black-legged kittiwake. Now, this is got the it's famous for being the whitest and, how do I say it? The most gulls of any species around the world. There's more black-legged kittiwakes in the world than any other gull. And it's noticed by its yellow droopy bill. It's the only small gull with a yellow bill, but that's only the adults have it, right? You can see in this picture here, the juveniles have a black bill. Oh no, all the other small gulls have a black bill as well, but the juveniles have this M, this black M. When it's flying, you can see that. The black-legged kittiwake, it gets its name for having black legs. You see that there. Black legs, very common around the world. Not too common in North America. But how do I remember this one? Well, I remember they've got McDonald's all around the world, right? It's the most common restaurant. This is the most common gull. And the young ones, they have an M for McDonald's on their back. That's a good way to remember. Now, the Franklin's gull, it's not an ocean gull. It's more on in the Midwest, the inside of the States and Canada. So not big on the Great Lakes or on oceans, but more marshy inlands, farmers' fields, any wet habitat in the interior of the U.S. and Canada. They're also, when they breed, they've got the dark hood. But what you'll notice on the Franklin's gull is he's got these thick white arcs around its eye, or I call them glasses or spectacles. And it's a thick white circle, all right? I think of them as Benjamin Franklin, right? It's a Franklin gull. Ben Franklin, he invented the bifocals, and this gull is wearing those really thick bifocals. The other feature is, look for the big white spots on their wingtips. But when they're folded, it looks like it's their tail, but it's their wingtips folded up there. You can see him here. Really big, fat, like large print. He's got to wear his bifocals to read the large print on those big spots on its tail or the wingtips. So look at that. And it's their legs are actually dark red. Dark red. It looks kind of black or gray there, but like its bill, dark red legs and bill. Ben Franklin. Now, Ben Franklin has a cousin that looks similar called the laughing gull. All right, so when you look at this, oh, it looks the same, right? It's got those eye arcs, those spectacles. It's kind of got the red bill. How do I tell these two apart? Well, the laughing gull is on the East Coast, so it's a little different area. It's not really in the Midwest. It's out on the Atlantic Ocean. But I call it the laughing gull is laughing at Ben Franklin because Ben's got to have those thick glasses. His eye rings or those spectacles are thin. So he actually can read. He doesn't have the big spots on its wingtips. He actually uses his reading glasses. They're refined. And the bill is longer and a little droopier. All right. Also has the dark red bill and legs, but really look at those eye arcs. Thinner versus thicker. He's laughing at Ben, who has his thick glasses. That's the laughing gull. The other short, small gull is the short-billed gull. Now, it's had a name change recently. If you pull out your field guide, it's probably called a mew gull, M-E-W. So that's been changed to short-billed. Now, it's called short-billed because if you see in this picture, it's got a little thin, short, stubby bill. especially when you compare it to its kind of the rounded head. That bill looks a little funny right there. Now, it's the only small gull with yellow legs. Yellow bill, yellow legs. It's a short-billed gull. It looks similar to the ring-billed gull, but it's a tad bit smaller, and it doesn't have that ring on its bill. So we'll get to the ring-billed here in a second here. But the ring-billed also has a yellow bill with a ring around it. No ring here. Short-billed gull. All right, that's it for small gulls. I'm now going to get into the medium-sized gulls, which are smaller than a herring gull, larger than a Bonaparte's. So that's 17 to 22 inches or so. And the most common one that we're all familiar with is the ring-billed gull. Get that here. Noticeable by the bright yellow legs, the bright yellow bill, with this black stripe around it. That's how it got its name. That's the most common North American gull. Their native habitat is a parking lot, is a dumpster, is eating French fries out of your hand. They're the gull everyone thinks of in parking lots. The adults have those yellow legs, yellow bill. The juvenile has pink legs, so it changes from pink to yellow, and the bill is pink with a black tip. So I always think that tip recedes when it's adult, kind of like the receding hairline, recedes to a stripe, and the bill gets yellow. And now when they're breeding, during breeding season, it gets really vibrant yellow. And it's kind of more of a dull yellow in non-breeding season. But it's got this light gray back, and there's no, the light gray doesn't stop. It goes right into the wingtips. There's no real second crescent of a white line back here like we'll see in some other bigger birds. But yeah, the traditional white head, soft gray back, black wingtips. Ring-billed gull. This is going to be your standard medium gull in North America. Next, out west, we have the California gull. Now, it's a little bigger than the ring-billed, but what you'll notice is the dark eye. The ring-billed, let me go back. See, it's got the yellow eye. California, dark eye. And the back is darker gray. And the bill doesn't have the ring-billed stripe on it, but it's kind of got a little black smudge at the tip and some red underneath. Whoop, that didn't supposed to happen. Red underneath. So no ring, markings of red and black. I think of it as the ring-billed went to California and got roughed up by the locals. He got a black eye and a bloody lip. That's how I remember the California gull. A little tougher neighborhood out in California. Look for the yellow. All right. Medium gull here, the Iceland gull. Guess where they're from? Iceland, that's right. And they come in a variety of subspecies. In your bird book, you might have Thayer's gull. Now it's been lumped under Iceland gull, so those are the same species nowadays. But I remember it, the easiest way to remember it, it is the smaller of the white-winged gulls. And the pale version, which is shown here, is the easiest one to identify. So notice there's no black anywhere on the wingtips. And there's no black anywhere on the gull, right? It's all really light gray or white. And here's a picture of it flying, right? There's no black there, right? It's all gray or white, right? And then here's a juvenile. And it's, once again, all pale. Now the bill is dark, but it's all pale. And it's small. So any medium all pale gull, Iceland gull, right? How do I remember that? Well, when it looks like ice, right? It's clean, it's clear. It's an Iceland gull. And the dark one, all right, the Heerman's gull. All right, now they congregate more on on the West Coast. It's a California West Coast gull. And they have large groups where they are present. And it's the only dark gray gull with a red bill. That bill, you can, when you see that, you're like, okay, that's the red-billed Heerman's gull. And the adults have a noticeable white head. So you can pick that out on a beach pretty easily. The all black legs. And they only had one breeding colony area in North America, or in the U.S., and that was in Seaside, California. The rest are, they breed in Mexico. And their breeding population was limited to a McDonald's parking lot in Seaside, California, until, I think it was 2018, there was a car accident at the McDonald's, and it disturbed the colony, and they never bred there again. And I think the local Audubon created an artificial breeding colony on a floating pontoon in a lake nearby. So that's a funny one. But the way I remember the Heerman's gull is it kind of looks like Heerman Munster. Heerman Munster, Heerman's gull. It's all dark with a white head and red lips. That's a fun one. But once you see it, you'll know this one. All right, the medium Heerman's gull. All right, and then we get to the lesser black-backed gull. Now, it's smaller than a herring gull. This is an East Coast specialty. You see these in Florida a lot, up the Atlantic coast. It's a little smaller than a herring gull. It's got yellow legs, but the back is darker than a herring gull, but lighter than a great black-backed. So it's kind of right in the middle. It's the dark bird that's not gigantic. So I call it the lesser than the greater. It's smaller, it's not as dark. But there's no other bird in this middle category of medium gulls that looks like this, with its really dark back. Not black, but really dark. All right, with its yellow legs. That's it for the medium gulls. Now there's 5 large gulls. So these are herring gull size and bigger. Now I start with herring gull because that's the most common large gull in North America. So these are 23 inches and bigger. So the herring gull here, like I said, is the most common large gull of North America. Like if I go out birding in my county right now, 95% of the birds in my area right now are herring gulls. They're the ones you typically see at oceans, at lakes, making a ruckus. They're eating the gizzard shad as they're swimming by the beach, and they're noticeable by their pink legs. Pink legs, large gull, yellow bill, yellow eye. This is the typical gull. It's the herring gull. Now, look for it when it's flying, and they're constantly flying in circles, looking for the little fish to eat. Look for the all white under their wings with the black wingtips. All white, so pale underneath with the black wingtips. So when I'm looking through a flock of herring gulls, looking for Iceland or Glaucous, we'll get to that next. I'm looking to see for that black wingtip. If it doesn't have a black wingtip, it's something special. So as a juvenile, they're pretty much different shades of brown. Look for that dark bill, mottled back. But once they're adult here, they've got that yellow bill with that red dot. Now that red dot they teach their young to peck at that red dot when they're feeding their babies, and that is a trigger for the mom to regurgitate, or the dad to feed the young. It kind of like regurgitates up the food, and the baby gulls stick their bills inside of the adult to get the food. Kind of gross, but that's what that red dot's for. It's a trigger. Herring gull. All right. This now is the Western Gull. All right, so like the name implies, it's out west. It's another west coast gull. Pink legs, yellow eye, like the herring gull, but it's much darker than the herring gull. And that bill is noticeably larger. They call it like bulbous. Look at this juvenile here. Like it's a gigantic honkin' bill. So on the Western Gull, it's dark. It's pretty much the only West Coast gull with this dark gray back. The lesser black-backed isn't out west. The great black-backed isn't out west. So if it's got this dark mantle, that's wearing this dark gray coat, it's a Western Gull. And when you look under its wings, remember the herring gull was pretty much all white with just the black wingtips? No, this has some dark modeling or dark areas at the trailing edge of the feathers. So in birds, we have leading edge and trailing edge. The leading edge is as the bird's flying forward, that's the leading edge of the wings. The trailing edge is what's trailing behind at the back. So you can see here, the trailing edge is that dark gray showing through. So that's the Western Gull. Then we have the Glaucous Gull. Now, this is another fun one to find because when you're looking through all those herring gulls that have the black wingtips, you're going to find one that doesn't. One that has almost white or all gray. You're like, aha, this is a special one. If it's a small one, it's an Iceland Gull. If it's a big one, it's a Glaucous Gull. So it's a very large white-winged gull. You can see there's no black anywhere on it. Now the juvenile, which is here down here, has a pink bill, and the adult here has a yellow bill. So I think of it as the Iceland Gull on steroids, or the other way to remember it is the Glaucous Gull. I think of glaucoma, right? That sounds like the same word. Glaucoma is the whites. There's a problem with your eyes, the whites of the eye. So it's a white gull. All right. It's a fun one to find. I always give myself a high five when I find a Glaucous Gull. And then out west, there's another one called the Glaucous-Winged Gull. Now, this isn't too common out east. This is a west coast bird. Now, the way I know these is you look for the gray on the wingtips, right? You see, it looks like these gray with white dots at the edge of their wings. That's the Glaucous-Winged Gull. There's something with the wings. So it's an all gray and white bird, like the Glaucous Gull, but it's got those special wingtips, those dots, those little areas here at the edge of the wings. When they fold up, it looks like scallops. It's a Glaucous-Winged Gull. Very large, pale wings, no black anywhere. All right, same pink legs, same yellow honkin' bill. The Glaucous-Winged Gull. And then the Big Daddy, the great black-backed gull. This one is the largest gull in the world. They're 30 inches long. I mean, it's huge. And when you see them next to other gulls, that's when you go, oh, that's a great black-backed. They dwarf the other gulls. It's very, very dark back. They call it black-backed, but it's more dark gray. But when it's flying, that gray is everywhere. Dark back, pale pink legs, but you're gonna know it's a black-back just by the size. Big yellow bill, and it's usually eating some sort of giant fish that's washed up on the beach, or that's usually what it's eating. Great black-backed gull. That's it for the gulls. So just in conclusion, go to eBird and find out what the common gulls in your area are. Are you on the West Coast or you're on the East Coast? And learn those first and really get to know the common gulls. Because when you're out searching for gulls, if you know the local ones, when something is different, that's what's going to tip you off that maybe you've got a vagrant. Because gulls, they like to fly around, and it's common to find, not common, but you are likely to find a gull that's not from your area if you look hard enough and take the time to identify them. So when I'm searching my pond with gulls, I take careful consideration, and I'll do like one sweep with my scope or binoculars and just look at the legs. And I'll say, all right, we've got all pink legs here. Oh, here's a yellow leg. Oh, here's a black leg. I'll take special attention on the leg colors. And then I'll do a sweep and look at just the wingtips. All right, black, 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 black. Oh, here's one that doesn't have black on the wingtips. Let me pay attention to this gull. Or I'll look at the bills. I'm like, oh, these are all ring bills. I can see them all. I can see them all. Oh, this one doesn't have a ring. Let me look closer at that one. So do separate passes looking at different features of the gull. Pay attention to those outliers, the ones that don't fit in. You'll find maybe that there's one gull that's kind of off in the distance, that's not hanging out with the other gulls. Pay attention to that one. And mostly, have fun. Don't feel like you have to identify all of them. Get to know your local ones. Start there first. All right, best of luck.
This is just the beginning. We just went through all the common gulls of North America. Can you come up with creative ways to remember all the other gulls in your county? If you like this video, smash that like button. Are there other bird IDs giving you a headache? Check out my other bird ID videos or put it in the comments and it may just show up in my next video.